The most terrifying sound to a politician is not a boo. It isn't a shout. It isn't a protest chant outside their office window. The most terrifying sound to a politician is silence. Last week, at the UCP convention in Edmonton, we heard a lot of noise. Delegates screamed at Premier Danielle Smith. They booed her for signing a deal with Ottawa. They booed her for saying that Canada works. The media loved it. Every headline for the last 48 hours has been about the anger, the division, and the rebellion. But if you are watching this, I want you to know something important. Those headlines are wrong. The noise in that room wasn't the sound of a movement growing, it was the sound of a movement dying. The real story of what is happening in Canada right now isn't about the people screaming in the convention hall. It is about you. It is about the millions of Canadians who stayed home. It is about the people who looked at the shouting, shook their heads, and went back to work. We are witnessing a quiet revolt in this country. But it isn't coming from the fringes. It is coming from the center, and for the first time in a decade, the silent majority is taking its country back. For years, we have been told that anger is the only currency that matters in politics. We have been told that to be heard, you have to be loud, you have to be extreme, you have to pick a side, team red or team blue, and you have to hate the other guys with every fiber of your being. This is the algorithm of rage. It powers social media. It drives fundraising emails. It builds political careers. Pierre Poilievre built his entire brand on it. The far-left activists built their brand on it. They all bet on one thing. They bet that you would stay angry forever. But they miscalculated. They forgot that anger is exhausting. They forgot that eventually adults get tired of the screaming match. And right now, across Canada, from the suburbs of Toronto to the oil patches of Alberta, people are tuning out the noise. You are performing a strategic withdrawal from the circus. And that silence is shifting the tectonic plates of our political landscape. Let's look at the deal between Danielle Smith and Mark Carney through this lens. Why did it happen? Why did a Conservative Premier and a Liberal government suddenly decide to shake hands on a massive energy accord? The pundits will tell you it's political calculation, but the truth is simpler. They did it because they read the room. They realized that the market for outrage has crashed. Danielle Smith looked at her province and saw two groups. One group was the loud minority at her convention, demanding she burn everything down. The other group was the quiet majority, the business owners, the families, the energy workers who just wanted certainty. She realized that she could not satisfy both. So, she made a choice. She chose the people who pay the bills over the people who make the noise. She chose you. This is why she was willing to stand on that stage and take the boos, because she knows that for every person booing in that room, there are 10 people sitting at home, nodding their heads, relieved that someone is finally acting like an adult. This is the power of the quiet majority. You don't need to hold a sign to wield power. Your power comes from your competence. It comes from your economic weight. When you decide that stability is more important than ideology, the entire system has to pivot to meet you. And that is exactly what we are seeing with the rise of Mark Carney. Think about what Carney represents. He is the antithesis of a populist. He doesn't shout. He doesn't use slogans. He speaks in paragraphs, not tweets. In the old world, the world of 2020 or 2022, a guy like Carney would have been eaten alive. But in 2025, he is surging. Why? Because you changed the demand signal. You stopped buying what the outrage merchants were selling. When Pierre Poilievre stands up in the House of Commons and yells that Canada is broken, it used to feel energizing. Now, to many of us, it just feels loud. It feels like a car alarm that won't turn off. We know there are problems. We see the housing prices. We see the inflation. But we also know that shouting at a flat tire doesn't fix it. Changing the tire fixes it. And the silent majority is looking for mechanics, not mascots. This shift is terrifying for the politicians who have built their careers on polarization. Look at David Eby in British Columbia. He is playing the old game. He is trying to rally his base by picking a fight with everyone, with Alberta, with Ottawa, with the energy sector. He calls the new pipeline deal an energy vampire. He threatens to block the lifting of the tanker ban. He is trying to generate noise. But notice the reaction. Or rather, notice the lack of it. The public isn't rallying behind him like they might have 5 years ago. Instead, people are looking at the map, they are looking at the economy, and they are asking, why are we the only ones not at the table? The quiet majority in BC understands that isolation is a fast track to poverty. They understand that we are a trading nation, and they are starting to see EB's theatrics not as strength, but as a liability. This is the danger of misreading the room. If you keep screaming when everyone else has lowered their voice, you don't look powerful. You look unhinged. The same danger applies to the federal Conservatives. For a long time, they believed they owned the common sense vote. They believed that the silent majority was angry, just like them. But the nanos polling numbers that came out this month tell a very different story. Mark Carney is leading Pierre Poilievre by 27 points on the question of who would make a better prime minister. That is a staggering number. It implies that a huge chunk of conservative-leaning voters, people who probably voted for Harper, are looking at Poilievre and saying, no. Why? Because the silent majority values institutions. We value order. We value the idea that the government should work. When Poilievre attacks the media, attacks the Bank of Canada, and attacks the very concept of expertise, he thinks he is being a rebel. But to the pragmatic guardian to you, he sounds like a risk. And if there is one thing the quiet majority hates, it is unnecessary risk. We have mortgages to pay. We have retirements to fund. We cannot afford to hand the keys of the economy to someone who treats governance like a reality TV show. So, this revolt of the middle is actually a flight to safety. It is a return to the boring, unsexy work of nation building, and the Energy Accord is the first major victory of this revolt. Let's look at what this deal actually achieves, because the media is too focused on the drama to explain the substance. This deal unlocks billions of dollars in investment by providing regulatory certainty. It secures the path for Canadian energy to reach global markets. It commits us to a net-zero future, but does it on a timeline that doesn't bankrupt the industry. It is a compromise, and in the world of the zealot, compromise is a dirty word. But in the real world, the world you live in, compromise is how things get done. You compromise in your marriage. You compromise in your business. You compromise with your neighbors. You know that anyone who demands 100% of what they want, 100% of the time, ends up alone. By supporting this deal, the silent majority is sending a message to Ottawa and Edmonton. We are saying, more of this, please. We are rewarding them for working together. And that positive reinforcement is going to change behavior faster than any protest ever could. This brings us to a critical point about the United States. We often think that American politics is the weather, and we are just standing in the rain. We watch the chaos of the Trump era, the deep divisions, and we feel helpless. But the Canadian response to that chaos is what defines us. The quiet revolt happening here is a rejection of the American style of politics. We are looking south and saying, we choose a different path. We choose a path where political opponents can still sign agreements. We choose a path where the center holds. This is not just a political preference. It is a survival strategy. With an unpredictable administration in the White House, Canada needs to be united. We cannot afford to be fragmented. If Alberta is fighting Ottawa and BC is fighting Alberta, we are weak, and in a negotiation with the US, weakness is fatal. The silent majority understands this instinctively. You know that Team Canada isn't just a slogan, it is a necessity. That is why the fringe elements, the separatists in Alberta, the radical isolationists in BC, are losing traction. Their ideas are luxuries that we can no longer afford in a dangerous world. So, what does this mean for you? It means that you have more power than you realize. For a long time, you might have felt like your voice didn't matter because you weren't shouting. You felt drowned out by the algorithm, but the tide has turned. The politicians are finally realizing that the likes on Twitter don't translate to votes in the ballot box. They are realizing that the silent, steady center is the only foundation you can build a government on. Your refusal to engage in the rage bait is forcing them to change their tactics. They are having to come to you. They are having to talk about policy again. They are having to talk about the economy again. They are having to act like adults again. And this creates a virtuous cycle. As the temperature lowers, more competent people enter the arena. When politics is a screaming match, only the loudest people run for office. When politics becomes about solving problems, the builders come back. Mark Carney is just the first domino. There are others, mayors, business leaders, community organizers, who are looking at this moment and thinking, maybe I can actually get something done now. This is how we rebuild the country. Not with a bang, but with a steady, quiet resolve. But there is a trap we need to avoid. The trap is complacency. The outrage machine is wounded, but it is not dead. The people who booed Danielle Smith aren't going away. Pierre Poilievre isn't going to stop campaigning. They will try to crank up the volume. They will try to find new wedge issues to divide us. They will try to make you angry again. Your job, as a member of the quiet majority, is to hold the line. It is to refuse to be baited. When you see a headline designed to make you furious, recognize it for what it is. It is a desperate attempt to drag you back into the mud. Don't click. Don't share. Don't engage. Starve the beast. Instead, focus on the signal. Focus on the results. Look at the inflation numbers. Look at the investment reports. Look at the legislation actually being passed. Judge your leaders not by how they make you feel, but by what they actually deliver. This is the pragmatic guardian mindset. It is the mindset that built this country, and it is the mindset that will save it. We are often told that Canada is boring. The world looks at us and sees a polite, quiet nation. For a while, we were embarrassed by that. We tried to be exciting, we tried to be dramatic, but we are realizing now that boring is beautiful. Boring means your pension is safe. Boring means your streets are safe. Boring means your government is working. The boos in Edmonton were exciting. The signing in Calgary was boring. I'll take boring any day of the week. And I think you will too. So, to the silent majority, I say this. Do not underestimate your strength. You are the firewall against chaos. You are the anchor of stability. The politicians work for you, not the other way around. And right now, you are firing the clowns and hiring the managers. Keep doing it. If you see yourself in this description, if you are tired of the noise and ready for the work, then you are not alone. There are millions of us. We just don't have a flag. We don't have a chant. And we don't have a convention where we scream at people. But we are here, and we are finally winning. If this message resonates with you, if you want to support a channel that speaks to the adults in the room, please consider subscribing. We aren't here to make you angry. We are here to make you informed. We are here to amplify the voice of the quiet majority. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being the calm in the storm. And as always, stay steady. I'll see you in the next one.